Windows
And
Alt R should
Okay,
record.
yeah, it's recording now. So we start here. Ranged and healers always stay stacked the entire time, and then they can start here before the pull, and that's where they'll just make sure you're in range of tanks, which are going to be like when they pull, tanks are going to flip the boss around, and the melee are going to be behind them. As long as you're within range of the tanks, you're good to go. That's going to be the hardest thing in positioning. You want to stay far away to give yourself space to room when the quaking spots happen, but you still want to be in range of tanks or melee. The first hit's there's gonna be two stomps every mini phase. So first stomp, tanks get out, melee gets out, they go back in, and then do the same thing. Tanks come out, melee goes out, they go back in, and then after that, pretty much immediately after the second stomp, a tank is going to get targeted. Usually I just run around to the front, get it, and I immediately movement cooldown back over here. This is going to be the first pillar we hit. Melee should get out of the way of that path. Anybody he hits in his path, he's basically going to murder. Tanks can't be right up against the pillar. They've got to be slightly back because you're going to get lit up when you get hit here. So just make sure you're good, like 8-10 feet behind the pillar. Once it goes off, he's vulnerable. This is all cooldowns except hero. Um, the ranged group can move slightly over to this way until they're in range, but give yourself space. Um, so just kind of be over here because tanks are gonna tank him right here, and then we're gonna back up at an angle. Because if you're too close, he's got a certain, I think it's like 20 or 30 yard radius around him. His stomps also destroy pillars. That's if he destroys one pillar, especially with our DPS, it's a wipe. Because we're gonna have to have him hit all four. If he misses a pillar on a charge, it's an immediate wipe. It'll kill everyone in the raid. So after he hits the first pillar, DPS cooldowns except for hero, and then we're gonna move him back a little bit. Tanks will be right around here. Melee DPS will be here. Ranged, you can. The entire time when range starts out, there's going to be circles hitting, and it's going to be a majority of the because it's going to be like 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to be like 7, 8, 9 people in this group. So this is where most of the stuff is going to happen. So this is where most of the movement needs to happen. Melee can adjust as needed, but you guys are going to be slowly moving as needed to give this place a wide berth because this is where you're going to end up. So this phase, same deal. Tanks will run out this way. Melee will run out, run back in after the first stomp. Fight him again. Second stomp goes out, same deal, and then you go back in again. And on the way back in, tanks are going to run right through him because they're going to get targeted and run and get behind this pillar. Melee need to go ahead and get out of the way. And ranged and healers, just find a good path. Ideally, the closer to the wall, the better. But somewhere out here where melee and the tanks haven't had a lot of stacks go drop on them. And then the boss is going to be, he hits the pillar at this angle, so tanks are just going to back him straight up right here. Melee are going to fight him here. First stomp, we're going to run towards the healers. Melee runs out towards the middle, and tanks will run out towards the healers, run back in. That's the first stomp. Second stomp, we run out, run back in, and tank will grab this, run all the way, get behind here. Melee is going to get out of the way. You guys can either move up to, you guys are probably going to want to move up to the middle here, get at an angle somewhere in the middle. Melee will be over here. Tanks, we're going to back them up at an angle. So healers are probably going to, ranged healers probably get here. The pillar is going to be gone at this point. And usually at this point you want him around 35% health. At 30% health, he's going to enrage. He's going to do way more damage to tanks, and that's when tanks are going to have to start popping cooldowns. So that's why we save hero for this one. He's vulnerable here. We pop hero the second he hits the pillar. People just pop every single cooldown they got. I'm sorry, melee is going to be right here, and then we're going to back him up against here, keeping a good distance because this is the last thing. So the same deal. Go out for the first stomp, go out for the second stomp, grab it, and the tanks are going to get behind here. And at this point, this is the end of the fight. He should be under 10% by now. Healers and ranged, this is where it would be good to call it out, because at this point there's really not going to be any safe spots. Ideally, the middle is going to be the place where a lot of the melee have dumped a lot of their stacks. The whole time, by the way, the tanks on this side will be running up north. Always running up. So on this side, so here, tanks are running towards healers. Here, tanks are running towards healers. Tanks running towards healers. Even on the flip side, we're going to turn towards healers, and then here, we're going to run out this way. So ideally, ranged is going to be at this type of arc. Melee is going to be at this type of stuff, following him. That way, If the melee doesn't want to run out directly into the ranged group because you don't want to get linked, because then a ranged or even a healer would have to pair up with a melee. If anybody, ranged DPS or healer, gets linked with a melee, they have to become a melee and move with them because otherwise their melee can't do DPS. That's the fight. So, yeah.